Hello, and thank you for coming to the 10th Lake County Film Festival. This is the Q&A session for the Shutterbugs short film program, and I am very happy to have Richard Raymond here from the short film A Million Eyes, who's just getting back to his chair. Hello, Richard.
Hello.
It's cool. The backstage area lets me see what's going on, so I saw that you weren't there, and I just stalled. It's interesting. Having this be the first time on opening night, I had these little festivities, and I was a host, producer, and director. Moving all these things around while I was trying to get someone to get into the backstage area, and I asked some stupid question, and then people on the screen, they kind of called me out. They're like, what and I was like, oh, I don't know, actually, I'm just trying to get someone here and I'm stalling for time. So help me. This isn't a very formal affair, I guess, which I like it that way.
It's informal. I love it. That's
yeah.
2020 informal year.
Yeah, it's a year of pajamas. It's pajama year, right?
Yes, it certainly is. But I have to say, it's. I think anyone who watches this who's been to film festivals before, you miss the community experience of being in a room, but then you embrace this new community experience where you're all watching things online and you can see comments. And I think that there's silver linings to everything. And I think it's important that filmmakers support festivals, and same vice versa, as everyone's been so kindly doing during this time of transition. And hopefully by next summer, things can get back to some semblance of where we were and build from there.
Hopefully. So right before we switched over to go live, you mentioned the program. So this is a full program about photography, which I kind of centered around your film.
A great title for the block. I loved it.
Great title. So people don't notice. I feel like I wish I could get someone to interview me at the end of the festival so I could kind of point out all the fun things. But a lot of our programs are named after songs. So the Shutterbugs is actually from the song, the Big Boy song called Shutterbugs, which I then got stuck in my head for like the last month. I've had that song, stuck in my head. I don't mean to, I don't remember what I wrote in the introduction. I didn't want to overstate the case, but we're all here because of photography. If it weren't for photography, there would be no film. There would be no film festivals. So I thought this was pretty important, to do. And yeah, you've got a great short, but then it's also a really long short. And I'm trying to build programs that are about 45 minutes.
Yeah,
I need something kind of bigger to grab on. I need to start with something relatively big, which I did. You're 24, so it worked out well. So anyway, on to the film. Can you tell me? I know you did not write the film, correct?
No. Kurt Zacharias Jr. from Tennessee, a brilliant young writer, wrote the film. It was originally he wrote a brilliant feature script. And he had given it to producer Josh Reinhold, who passed it on to me because he knew how much I would connect to this story of a young boy seeing the world in a different way and finding his voice and being blessed with a mentor, and how important mentorship is to young artists. And I read it, and I just felt very impatient. And I also knew that making a feature film of this type and size, you would run a big risk of whether it would get seen. And I had such a positive experience with my last short film called Souls of Totality. It just occurred to me that the weight of having a feature film and the weight of having a short film actually is very equal. And if anything, short films compared to indie movies, they get a bigger theatrical audience. I know I'm saying this because it's now virtual, but we screened at probably about 75 screens with Souls of Totality, and each single one of those screens were packed. And with A Million Eyes before the pandemic, we had about 30 screens. It was, and so to have that type of audience, and I always feel that for filmmakers coming up, you really only make films for kind of two reasons, these short films. One is the reward of creating something and practicing your craft, but two is that moment where you sit in a cinema with an audience and you watch the film. You know what you've done right, and you certainly know what you've done wrong, and it's nothing anyone can ever teach you, because you feel it in the room, and you're like, you've had that much distance from the film, and you feel very exposed. So those were I really wanted to get to that, and I pitched it to Kurt and to Josh, the producer, and bless them both for supporting it. And Kurt took like the main narrative beats of the feature and condensed it down. And as the film, we had originally planned for it to be about a 15, 18-minute film, which was the length of the last short film. But as the film went on and we were making it, I always feel that films tell you what they want to be. You just kind of listen, you just feel it, and it speaks back to you as you're creating it. And this film, for me, it just felt like it wanted to be a very patient film. And it wanted to be told through the prism of a photographer's point of view, very subjective, there's a lot of patience in that. We live in a world where everything is instant gratification, Instagram, and 35mm photography is not about that. It's about patience. It's about taking your time and selecting your moment and composing it, and then not seeing it for a while. And so I kind of felt the film wanted to echo that in a way. And so yeah, it ended up being quite long.
Well, photography, you linger on images. I don't think that your pacing felt out of place for, the subject matter of photography. Yeah, it's interesting. I love scheduling. I love curating and I love scheduling. But through an accident, I actually had a Q&A for a movie that was scheduled last weekend. But because of the time zone difference, he needed to change it. So I just did a Q&A about for Women of the Photographs, and that was also very Instagram, that whole the different cultures. If you check it out, there's there's an age gap, there's a technology gap, there's a gap in just what you were talking about, Instagram culture. Can you talk at all about what Kurt's inspiration was for the story of mentorship, and then how photography does he have? How does photography work into his life? Was there?
I wish he was here, because it's difficult to speak for him because he's so brilliant and he is so much better at articulating than I am. But from my friendship with Kurt, he is an absolutely passionate and avid photographer, and he has a variety of 35mm photographs, and actually some of his very good friends are brilliant photographers. And he grew in the area in which he lived and grew up, which is Chattanooga. There are all these houses which are completely overgrown with vines and leaves, and so he kind of is Leroy. And he also was a teacher in a school where he met lots of Leroy types. And I think he wrote the film for them because, and it's interesting, I can echo this, because when you go to film festivals or you go to places and a lot of people write to me, and I always love talking to young people about, giving them advice and demystifying the film industry. And basically, a lot of people have a lot of self-doubt. Who am I? What am I doing? And I always find that mentorship is really important. I'm still building my career, but I certainly would be nowhere if it wasn't for these particular mentors in my life that helped me along the way and recognized something in me. And so we all just felt kind of drawn to Kurt's story of, let's tell the story of Leroy and use that as kind of a flag to showcase how important mentorship can be and how healing art can be as well.
Yeah, that's big. That's big with me, and how, and especially at young ages, art can guide us, into who we are. What's the biggest piece of advice you would give a young person who wants to get into film?
I would say there's two things. The first thing is, don't try and be someone else. Recognize that you, whoever you are a unique individual, and you have something to say. And if you don't feel you have something to say, kind of do some soul searching and look at your life and look at how you feel about things and talk about that, because by honing in on who you are, then you can really, it will never be anything other than truthful and honest. And if you're truthful and honest, then it will always resonate with other people. And the second thing I would say is collaborate with diverse people that are not you, people that don't look like you, people that don't sound like you, that don't like the same films as you, and the people that will challenge every single decision you make. And because you will definitely then make a much better film.
Team of rivals.
Yeah, absolutely. And take your ego out of the equation. I find it really hard to do that. But, sometimes people will come up with an idea that you immediately kind of, your back's up and you feel like a lioness protecting her cubs. And then suddenly you're like, oh, actually, that's a really good idea. And so if you have an open heart and a diverse group of people, then I think the door's open for some really beautiful discoveries. And everyone's there to help you.
My biggest advice since making a movie, the advice I usually give any young person who wants to get into film is learn to become a dentist or a lawyer.
Those are big professions.
Yeah. But then later, when you have those are professions that have money. So then later, once you have money, your path to make a film will be much easier.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, money. The eternal conflict between any artist and their craft.
Yeah, I mean, I usually, and just say the quickest route would be to get a job where you get a lot of money, and then it will be very easy to make a film because you'll have
or make friends with dentists and lawyers, and see if they'll be fortunate enough to believe in you.
I am so bad at that. That's just my one. This festival has no sponsors. It's just time wasted to have me do it. I've tried to get other people to look for sponsors for me, and it hasn't really worked out. But I just don't.
Amazing job, and I think any sponsor would be proud to represent you.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So you said it was a feature. So I feel like the short does something really good in you. I feel like you have clues to bigger stories that are in the feature, but you don't explicitly explain them. And while I did rewatch the film today, I just wanted to make sure that maybe I was thinking this right. What is the broken camera that's at the house?
It's his father's camera. It's his dad's camera, and he can't capture the way he sees the world because the lens is broken and it's shattered. And he meets this. And he doesn't quite know how to. He wouldn't even know how to work a 35mm camera. But so it's part of his connection with his father. And then just inertly and instinctively, he's going to these places. And like if you were just looking at a car from here, it's this car, but then you go up top of a ladder, look down, and you see all the vines going towards the car. So he's seeing things in a really unique way, and he's looking at it through this cracked lens, which is kind of, is obviously probably an on-the-nose visual representation of his community and the marginalized people that he represents, and the voiceless. And then when he meets Fern, fixes his when he meets Fern, he then finds a mentor that's able to teach him how to use the camera. And obviously his mum saves up and fixes his camera for him.
So that's the same camera. So she just fixed the lens.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
And yeah, the lens. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So was photography a large passion for the father, or was it just a casual?
It was casual, and we had a backstory of the dad in the feature film where He was a member of the military, and like a lot of people in the military, they back in those days, they took their cameras with them and they photographed every, whatever they could. In fact, when we shot the film in Atlanta, and to get the production design of the dark room correct, we actually found in Atlanta an old gentleman that lived in a house next door to the house they shoot Stranger Things in. The next door neighbor of the Stranger Things house, he had an old dark room. And he was an old African-American gentleman, just like Fern. And actually, he ended up becoming quite an inspiration for Joe Morton, who played Fern, based his character on him. And he took us down into his darkroom, and just like the character that Kurt had written, he had photographs of the war, and he took his camera with him everywhere. And in fact, in the darkroom, you'll see we just basically took his entire darkroom and put it on our set. And so it's all real. And that was amazing to see.
So the first thing I want to hear is, what war were those photos of? But then also, since you mentioned it, what is the time frame of the short film?
In terms of the how long the short film plays out, or the year in which?
Yeah, what year is the
modern day, set today? Set today. And the photographs in the darkroom, they're literally, we took this, I forget his name, he's in the credits, he was a wonderful gentleman. I think his name's George something, and we took literally all of the photographs in his darkroom, and we just basically took them off the walls and we put them on the wall of our set. But I have to hand a lot of it, and his, and all the equipment too. But I have to also say that one of the biggest kind of influences in the film was the director of photography, Jaron Blansky. Now, Jaron Blansky did The Lighthouse just before he did A Million Eyes. And he also did my last short film, Souls of Totality. He's doing The Northman right now. And he was nominated for the Oscar for The Lighthouse. But he is one of the truly most passionate people about film photography I know. We tried very hard to get film for this film, but we just couldn't afford it. And we were both gutted about that. And if Jaron had his way, we would have shot the film black and white. But I think, he was the one, watching him and the gentleman that we got all the equipment from the darkroom talk was amazing. I've got videos of them talking. It's great. He was like a kid in the candy store, and he really knows his stuff. Oh
wow, he did. He did. I Believe in Unicorns, and The Witch.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jaron's a master at what he does. He's the reason the film looks remotely anything like it does is him.
Well, I have a personal question that I usually love asking in Q&As. I think you answered it already, but usually the trials and tribulations of independent filmmaking, is a common topic. But I find that most films have a moment of kismet where something that was going wrong or was difficult winds up being better than it was. But it sounds like your basement photographer is already a great moment of kismet,
There are more. I agree with you. It's funny. I do believe in movie gods when you're shooting a film. I really do. And you can really tap into them, or just the general energy that will steer your film to find those magical moments. The fireflies, which were totally unexpected in the ruins when Leroy's walking towards camera, they just started popping out. And, I'd never seen them before. That was something that I was like, wow. And because originally the ending was meant to be kind of like the light of the muse hits his face. And I got rid of it because it just felt a very real film. It didn't want to go too supernatural or anything. So I took all that out, and the fireflies just make it really ethereal. There were other moments. I would like to go back to my previous short film just for one example of that. And it's nothing you can conjure. It's just, if your intentions are right, these things start happening. We ended up, there was one scene set inside a gas station, and we ended up getting pushed, and we had to shoot a daytime gas station with no money and one light at nighttime. So our one light was shining as bright as it could through the back window to make it look like daytime, and it worked. But pushing that to the end of the schedule at night meant I had to shoot a sunset scene at sunset finally. And it just so happened that where the bus was, it's the opening scene of Souls of Totality, where the bus was parked. When I got in the bus, I realized, my God, the sunset is right through the window. And so I ended up getting well, in the film it's sunrise. I ended up getting the sunrise through the window in the opening shot of the film, which is about a solar eclipse. And that was totally magic. Like that wasn't planned. I didn't say, put the bus here. It was just there. So these things happen. If you're lucky enough to make a film, then hopefully those things will happen.
I've asked that question maybe 10 times this week and not told the story about mine, which I love. So I will. And I did have a couple weather related ones, but I think my favorite is that I had a scene where people were going to a relative's house for like a holiday meal, and we really wanted to show how much of a like a jackass this guy is, right? So the script called for him. They walk in the door and he's he's got his arms around his son-in-law and he's showing him how to do a golf swing or whatever. And if I had one thing that we could have afforded, one extra position that we could have afforded, it would have been a prop master, because the whole film had so many props and keeping track of them and remembering everything. I have a horrible memory. So I forgot to bring the golf clubs. I forgot to pick up the golf clubs.
No.
Got to set.
No.
Took care of some stuff and then ran back to get the golf clubs. Got back to set and they said, you know what? We just shot it without the golf clubs. He looks even more like an asshole without a golf club. He's still doing the swing. He's still got his hands and he's showing it, but without a golf club. And now he looks even more like a jackass.
Funny that, isn't it? It's funny that how it comes together. That's really funny. That's brilliant. May the film gods always be on your side.
Yes. I wrote down this question thinking that we were going to have more people, and this question actually worked really well for 3 of the shorts in there. Mm-hmm. 3 of the shorts actually, I think you do a little bit. Oh yeah, right. The idea of art as a physical item kind of plays into all 3 shorts, 3 of the 4 shorts. Yet the shorts seem more interested in the process, yet are also kind of think about the physical, form. He's cutting pictures, out of books. He's got, he's potentially he's printing. You cover the printing of the photos. What do you think about the importance of a physical, something inferior about a physical product?
That's just, it relates specifically to photography, really, because when you've got something in your hands, and it's even with a Blu-ray, when you've got something, what was it? I know this is not really a comparison, but Amazon and iTunes, if you buy a movie, it's not yours, but when you've got something in your hands and it's tangible and it's real and you can feel it, it's that vinyl quality to it. I grew up learning about film, going to my local cinema, going to the booth and being given 35mm rolls and holding up the rolls and seeing, oh my God, so 24 of these running at that speed makes a moving image. And suddenly you would be like, oh, the magic is tangible, it's real, it's in my hands. And I really feel that you don't get that when you're holding a hard drive DCP for sure. It's just like, oh, okay. And I was proud to hold my early films on a roll of 35mm. I loved that. But that's not an ego thing. Like it really, I think any painters or a poet that's writing on paper, I think that musicians, if they're listening to their work on vinyl, I think everyone kind of could feel that when it's tangible and it's real and it's in your hands, it exists. And I think that path from your imagination, from when you're just closing your eyes and you can see something and you want to share it with people, you want to bring it into existence, you want to will it into existence. I'm a believer that ideas come to you, and if you don't do anything with them, they'll go to someone else. Ideas come from somewhere and they're around and they'll find you and they'll find someone else if you don't do anything. And like the fact that you want to have it real there, then you've basically completed that arc from your imagination to the world. And so, you know, I mean, yeah, you couldn't shoot Voyager 1 and 2 in space, you know, on a digital. There's a golden record out there that's going to exist well beyond our sun, and that exists. Carl Sagan thought of it, so I kind of agree.
I've been, you know, I've been planning to sit down and teach my kids how to put together a stereo and play a record.
Yeah.
You know, like kids today wouldn't really know that. You know, they might be able to figure out the Bluetooth connection or something like that. But well, you know, actually one question I ask a lot for people that have known actors in their work is, how did you lure someone into your project? You know, how did you lure I think access is the biggest problem people have. How did you get him the script to even have a sit down?
Luck. Literally. Total luck.
That's usually the answer. Like, I ran into him, but like, you know, I think people can help will find the knowledge helpful. Like, you know, how did you, you know, get that luck? You know, where were you that you stumbled into him?
Well,
you know?
it was the other way around. It was Katie, the Katie Lowe's, who played the mum. And you know, my wife, Nusha, who's the producer on the film, she's friends with Katie, and she's been itching to introduce us. And so we met, and I didn't really know Katie's work because I wasn't a fan of Scandal, which she's on television. And so, like, I'd seen it, but I never really, you know, really got into it. So, but then when I met her, I was just blown away. She's amazing. And she's also just an incredible human being. She's a brilliant actor. She has a brilliant theater company in Los Angeles, in Pasadena. And we just really connected. So we offered her the role, and we were thinking of actors that could play Fern. And she said, well, why don't I ask Joe Morton? I'll just text him. I was like, okay. And she did. And Joe was like, yeah. And then Joe called me up, and we spoke for about 20 minutes, and he said, I'll see you on set. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
And Joe wanted to do it because he felt that he'd never seen that type of role on film before for a young African-American boy to have an African-American mentor. And he felt that was important to be part of. And he really wanted to give kind of just some weight for that character. He did a brilliant job, and he was also deeply collaborative as well. There was, you know, the scene in the film where he gives him his printed photographs, and he says, do you think I'll ever be as good as you? And he goes, you're already better than me. That scene was originally like a 10-page scene that went around the whole table, and there were pictures on the wall. There were pictures of Fern when he was younger. It was a big, intricate scene, and we ended up getting screwed in terms of time. I took too long, my fault, on the rest of the day, and I had literally 30 minutes. And I was like, I remember the producer telling me, you've got 30 minutes to shoot this scene. And I actually didn't know what to do. And it was about, and I was like, right, okay. So I went to Joe, and I was just honest with him. I said, I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And he said, sure, tell me what's the issue. And I said, well, this scene, I need to shoot this scene in 30 minutes. And he goes, okay. So we sat together for 5 minutes, and he said, we don't need that. You don't need that line. And I said, oh yeah, you don't need that. And we started vibing off each other. And before you know it, we had a 2-page scene that we set on 2 camera angles on each end of one corner of a table. And the only person who was upset was our production designer, because she had done such an incredible job with this house. And you only saw this dark 2 corner, and Jaron, bless him, he set one spotlight up at the top, and we did it. And we did it with time to spare. We finished 5 minutes early. and that was down to the collaboration of Joe Morton. So I'm grateful for him, more so than he'll probably ever know.
Oh, when I think of all the wasted time on things that didn't make a cut, it'll drive me crazy, you know. Fights, arguments, stress. And now no one's ever seen it, you know. What was between the 2 actors? You've got someone so seasoned and someone so inexperienced. Was there? Were they similar in real life to their characters? Was there a mentorship going on?
No, Elijah's from Atlanta originally. It was his first major role in anything. He'd done a bit part in a small film before, but I just found him to have a face that just pulls you in. I loved how observant he was. We auditioned hundreds of kids, and I just loved him. I just thought he was really accessible, and I just thought he was right on that cusp of being a man and yet being a boy. And he actually grew 6 inches from when we shot to when we recorded the ADR, and his voice broke, so we had to repitch all of his voice. So he had a massive growth spurt, but he's just a fantastic actor, and he's doing lots of work with Disney, and he's doing a Netflix show with Jamie Foxx. So he's on the up and up, doing great work. And but more than anything, he comes from a great family that supported us and were there. His mum is a teacher, and you know, she was also a guide for us, because I'm not from that community, so I really need to just listen and react to the things I'm being told. And so she was there to guide us through all of that. That is my daughter. Hang on, I'm just going to bring her in. She's driving up. 1 second. Come in, Ruby. Sorry. This is Ruby. We're doing a film festival.
Hi.
Why you got $1? Anyway.
Friday.
Thank you. So, Rumi, this is Nat. We're doing a talk. They watched A Million Eyes. We were just talking about Elijah. What's Elijah's name in the movie?
Leroy.
Leroy. There you go.
Daddy.
Hang on, 1 second. 1 second.
That?
I don't know.
Well, what did she ask?
She said, "How many people are watching right now?"
Oh, I don't know.
It's okay.
I would bring you my dog, but apparently he left.
I saw him.
Yeah, he walked out. I was going to show her. You know, there's a dog watching, but yeah, I can wrap this up now that we've definitely talked longer than the length of the movie. Not even including the 15 minutes we were talking earlier. What's next for the film?
I don't know, actually. We've been blessed with a really amazing run, and I think we've been blessed with a really amazing run, and I don't really know. We're trying to sort out our distribution, but with this film, I don't want to put it online for free, and too many people work too hard. Too many people sponsored the film to ignore their contribution. It's difficult at the moment with the pandemic, and we'll just keep finding the right way. We did a really good film festival called the Social Justice Now Film Festival, so I'm considering trying to make a kind of a collaboration of like 4 or 5 films about the social justice topic, and seeing if we can put that as a kind of a block of like an hour and a half somewhere. But we'll see.
Yeah, like you know, the Vimeo rental or the Amazon rental might be a decent thing you can do on your own. You know?
Yeah, I'm not really for self-distribution. I just don't really, you know, I want it to find an audience, and that will come with finding the right home for it. Will just come when the right kind of slot happens.
Sure. And what are you working on next?
I'm doing a feature film in Montana in April that I can't talk about due to superstitious reasons, if anything. We're nearly cast. I'm just waiting to cast one more role. I'm really excited about it. It's a really good script. And I'm also doing, there was a feature film with Evan Rachel Wood that we're now going to hopefully turn into a mini series, and we're about to start pitching that around, called 1000 Paper Cranes, which is the true story of Sadako Sasaki and the author Eleanor Kaur.
Sweet.
So those are the 2 things that I'm kind of focused on at the moment.
That sounds like plenty.
I just feel like they're taking far too long, but yeah, we're getting
specific plans for shooting in a pandemic.
Yeah, I'm going to get the vaccine as soon as it's out. And the whole crew should too, frankly, and we can get on with it. So
Awesome.
Yeah, that's my plan. And because there's a lot of scenes with extras, so get the vaccine. Let's shoot this film. It's
I just talked to somebody in Japan who's going to be shooting next year, but the virus is just not around there. So
no, yeah, they've got a proper government doing things. And
so maybe you want to shoot in Japan.
I actually have been to Japan in the last couple of years about 5 times, and we've extensively looked at locations and worked with various production companies. The problem with shooting in Japan is you have to give at least 18 months notice of a location before they give you permission. And the way that Western movies happen is just like you're told about 3 weeks into the shoot that you're green lit. So it's not really, feasible.
Where are you shooting in Montana, actually?
It's between probably Helena. It's set in Helena, and it spans 10 years. It actually takes place all over America, but one of the main locations is Helena.
Cool.
I wish I could talk about it, but I just got a superstitious thing, and also I always feel films get old very quickly, so
Cool. All right, well, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for coming by and talking to us. And we'll see everyone in a little while with our next Q&A tonight. All right.
Thank you for having us. I really appreciate it.